Hello, Jan Montarsi here. Recently I made my broken brain cane kaleidoscope cane class, and I made a long video using them in
This is
different
the
ways.
second
I've split
section
it into
covering
separate
Rondell
sections.
beads. If you've watched the previous videos, you can skip through the tool section and probably the sanding section to get to the actual bead section. Thanks.
Hello, folks. Today's going to be a continuation of my last class using my broken brain cane. I want to show you how you can use it in different ways. We're going to make some rondelle beads, and I'm going to show you how to make them all the same exact size. These are not the same exact size. They're close enough, but if you really want to make each bead identical in weight and size, I'm going to show you that. Here is my triangle cane. I've cut 6 even slices on my Lucy slicer. I'm going to show you how to put those together and make a pendant. The small triangles that we cut from the cane when it was big, and we cut it into 4 separate triangles. Those are what I use to make these rondelle beads. And I will show you how I put them up. This is just a little bit of scrap left from my original blend. The little bits of black and white leftovers. Some scraps I had left, and I added a little bit more so that I have cores for my rondelle beads. These I don't know yet, the black and white. I may use them, I may not, but we will see. So let's get started. Now, some tools. You need to have cardstock. I usually have a whole piece, and I cut up a few. Oh, these are probably 3x4 or 2x3 pieces. Of course, the standard clay blade you'll need. You need some bead pins. These are from Creative. These are the thinnest, strongest, sharpest. Let's see if I can get that camera to go. Never seems to work. Anyway, these are the very thin steel pins. You can only get these at Creative. When you see other bead racks being sold for cheap on Amazon, those are knockoffs, and you do not get these types of pins with them. They are thick. Sometimes they're needles. These are super thin. There we go. You can see that sharp point. All right, so anyway, let's get started. Let me clear this off and we'll get working. I'm also going to show you how to make earrings from slices. Let's make some rondelle beads. Now, I probably overcomplicate this. This was scrap that I blended in my pasta machine to make it all consistent. I had it into a sheet, and I rolled it tightly into a log. Now I have to roll pieces that I can make my bead. And I'm just warming this up. I'm going to roll it out a little bit more in a minute. I don't want to go too thin. Oh, another item you need to have, which is really good, is a digital scale. This one measures in grams and ounces. I use the gram setting. Now, I'm going to trim this cane down a little bit. I want to make it more to this size. So I'm just going to whack off a chunk. That's better. Now, I use 4 slices, and I want to show you this by hand. The slices aren't as even, but most people don't have a slicer. So I'm going to slice 4 slices. I'm going to have to move this a little bit. I'm not anywhere near looking down on it. But let's try. That one's way too wonky. I can thin them out if I have to. Oh, man. The whole point of making a cane is to get the most mileage out of it. So the thinner that you can work with your slices, unless you're going to do some heavy sanding, the better. 2, 3, 4. Okay, we have 4 slices. Okay, so now I'm not going to put them together in a circle. What I'm going to do is put them the same way, and I just usually figure this out as I go, but that's different. So these 2 are matching each other, and these 2 are now matching each other. But I do them I flip one over. So on this, it's not a mirror image, it's a flipped mirror image, I would call it. Okay, and those 2 are stuck together. Then here, the same thing. You want the colors here where they match to be opposite. So that's not opposite. That's not opposite. See the brown and the purple together. I got purple and brown and the green line that travels through them. That's opposite. Okay. And there's this one. So now I have 4 slices. And I'm going to take a deli sheet. Hang on. Okay, I have some patty papers here. These will work. And I'm just going to smooth it. Now, they're not all the same. I can feel the different thicknesses. I'm just trying to get them stuck together. Maybe release them. Clay is still very sticky. I don't usually work with clay this sticky. Now, what I'm going to show you here is how to figure out how thick your log of clay needs to be. And this is way too thick, I can tell already. But we're going to wrap this around this log. And right now, that would probably go a little past the halfway mark, which means I would need like 7 or 8. I work in even slices so that when I close the ends, the patterns match. You can see, when these 2 pieces get wrapped around the log, the brown and brown are going to be opposite, the purple and purple are going to be opposite, and the green line will connect at both points. All right, so here's what I do. First thing I do is I roll along how thick I think I need it. Then I put a mark on it, straight line. Now, when we wrap this, we're going to be wrapping from this point to this point is a whole wrap. Let me get the cards so I can show you that. From that point of this triangle to there is one full wrap, because this half triangle on the end will fill that spot. So that's how far we have to go, to the middle of this slice, from here to there. So I'm going to line my mark line with that little mark I made there, and I'm going to roll it. And I came just past the end, which is fine, because it might be a little thicker in the middle. Oh, I messed up. Okay, they're not stuck together very well, but they will be. Let me burnish that a little more. Okay, so let me show you another trick too. If you're working with clay that's very sticky like this is, this is the whole point of these cards. You can slide them like a blade under to remove it off of your work surface. That way you're not distorting it. So, I'm going to put this on here and see how close my ends come. Now that's a big gap. I was off. So there's two things you can do. You can cut a wedge out of here, or if I can get this off, I got it off. I'm just going to roll this a little bit thinner. Okay. And that should be enough. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to see if this matches any of my dowel rods. That's a little too thin, and the next one up is a little too thick. So I know that when I go to roll more, I'll shoot for somewhere a little larger than my number 1 dowel rod. And if you don't remember from the last video, I have them in all sizes, and I mark the ends in pairs. And we'll get to that later. So, I'm going to put this on here again. Roll that way a little bit. And you can see they almost match. I don't want to stretch them apart like this and lose that seam. Now, one thing I do, they almost match. So instead of trying to cut out a wedge, I'm just going to push my blade in between them, make a dent, and that will bring them, that's enough to bring them closer. Pinch, pinch, pinch along the seams. Make sure everything's joined. Roll a little bit. Now I'm getting kind of long, but I'm going to trim my ends. Now this will be my first bead. So every other bead that I make, I will make the same way. And they may be off. Here's some extra brown that I don't want on there. So it may not be even. All the pattern is still there. You can see I hit the edge a little, trimmed very little off. So I'm going to push that down a little bit. Then I'm going to get a ball tool. I usually use a medium small size, and I just make a ball dent in each one. And then now, when you're putting 6 points together on a bead like this in a different way, you want them to match. On these, it doesn't really matter that much. That the pattern just has to come together. And what I do is little pinches. I don't try pushing the clay up, just little closing pinches, evenly all the way around. It's more of a tap pinch. Tap, pinch, tap, pinch, tap, pinch. And you will quickly close the hole. And if you're wanting to match a pattern on the end, you can, pinch where you need to keep the pattern in place. Okay. And you can see that hole is closed. And if you do have a little brown on the end, what you can do is take a smaller ball tool and press that in a little bit more and continue pinching it closed until you get the colors joined. Okay, now we'll do this end. I'm going to give that a little bit more of a dent. Tap, pinch, tap, pinch, tap, pinch. Tap, pinch. Now there's a little brown there on the edge, which I'm just going to trim out. I missed it before. Just get right down to the pattern of the cane slice. Push that in. More of a dimple. Just keep tap pinching. And when it's that small, I keep my fingers together. I'm just like that, just a little tiny almost like I'm scooching the clay together. I'm not pressing it the whole, just around it. Okay, so that's good. So now we have this bead, and we're going to roll it lightly. I'm trying not to distort the pattern. I don't want it swirling. I might go backwards if it starts to swirl. I just want to get it into a round ball. And had I pushed it a little bit, it would have got to a round faster than from a cylinder. Okay, so there's this. Now, I'm going to find my ends. I'm going to tap them. I'm making rondelle beads. So now, find my acrylic block. This one will do. I'm going to, first of all, get it up so that I can get the point right on. It makes a shiny spot, and I hope you can see that. When you move it around, it'll make a shiny spot on your acrylic plate. So just a little. I'm just pressing a little. Now, if I wanted to make them all the same size, let me find two number 2. These are number 2 sticks. And this is my own numbering system. I would just, that would be too thin. So let me go back to number 1. Okay, I have 2 number 1s. I'm going to put that in there and press. I need to move it this way a little bit to center that point. I did. Easy peasy, rondelle bead. Now, there's a tool coming to make this easier without all these sticks. Hopefully it gets here soon, and I will demo it. My magic press tool came in the mail the day after I finished this video. I just wanted to give you a little preview of it here. I will show you how to make it later, but it makes using the sticks a thing of the past. This is a much more compact, precise way to make consistent rondelle beads. And you can see Creative Dork's new bead rack. It's a much smaller, less expensive version. Unfortunately, China keeps ripping off top sellers on Amazon, putting small businesses out of the marketplace. So there's a nice rondelle bead. Now, here's my scale. I turn it on. It's on grams. I hit tare to make sure it's on 0. I'm going to weigh this bead. 5.1 grams. Now, if I make every bead that weight, they will all technically be the same size. And if you follow the process, even if you're off a little bit, you can trim more. You can trim more before you start to close the ends to get it to the right weight. So we're going to do another one, and I'm going to show you that. Because we're cutting not perfectly even cane slices by hand. Close, but not perfect. So we really don't know how much weight it's going to be in the end. This one will go much faster. It's a little thick. So now we're going to make another bead. So I'm going to line up those opposites. And this red. Now I may not like that. So I'm gonna turn my first one a turn and mirror image these two. Okay. I didn't want that solid stripe of red going across. That doesn't match. It's a different pattern. And if you get one wrong, it really doesn't matter. They look good. That's not right. There we go. So each two, the pattern should match. Mirror image it. Opposite mirror image. Okay, there we go. These don't take as long as I'm making it look. Now there's some real thickness on this one, and it's very short. If you had a smaller triangle, a tinier triangle, like say it was only that big, you would need maybe 6 slices, or you would be making smaller beads. So here's a piece of my log left. I don't think that's going to be enough. I'm going to roll this into a ball and roll it into a log. And I feel an air bubble. Do that step again real quick. Mark it. Started at the halfway point of this one. Roll it. I'm way past that point. I'm out here. So I definitely want to roll this smaller. Try it again. The line's at the halfway point. Roll it. I'm right at the edge. I'm just going to make it just a little bit smaller. Okay. Now, I keep doing that with my blade instead of my cardboard. Now, if you get production work, you would just, figure out your diameter of your scrap clay core and just go with it. And I can push this around and make sure these match. Closing each one. Rolling it. Now the first thing I'm going to do is try to trim it without trimming away any of the cane. I got very little on that. Make sure I don't have any brown showing around that edge. I'm going to cut the other side just a little bigger because I want to check to see what my weight is. Okay, so let this zero out. Hit tear to make it 0. 4.1. So this one's smaller. And that comes from you don't know what your slices are. So at this point, I'm going to leave that one. But if it was bigger, I was hoping it would be bigger. One thing you can do, I need to add 1 gram of clay. So I'm going to push that end in. I'm going to roll a little ball and push it in there and push it down again. Check my weight. .4. I need to do it on the other side. Basically, when I push that down in, I'm stretching the cane slices wider, which is fine, just so they don't split apart. So I'm going to put that on there. I'm going to add my clay. That's 4.6, 4.8, 4.8, tiny bit more, 4.9. Okay. That's a lot of clay to have to get in there, but we can do it. Just push down more. Roll this into a ball. Now, I would normally just make that bead what it was, but going forward, before I rolled this to this point, I would get them all to the same weight. But this works if you have to do it. Okay, so now we're there. Gonna make my dimples. Pinch, 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 tap, tap, tap. See brown creeping out, push it back in. This clay is very soft, and this is an organic pattern, so it doesn't quite matter. I lost one of my tools. Make that smaller dent. Tap, tap, tap. There's some brown showing. I'm going to push it in.
and close it up so that I only have cane showing. Start working on this side. My work table that I'm filming on goes downhill, obviously, because everything rolls off of it. Push that down in a little more. Roll it slightly into a ball. Close enough. Find where I'm going to pierce it. Now, I found the center. Oh, wait, I forgot a step. We're going to flatten it first. Still not quite round. Okay, set it on the spot. Grab your sticks. Where did my 2-1 sticks go? Make sure the center's in the shiny point and just press it. Don't press it that much. Just enough. Okay, so here you have 2 identical size beads that are the same shape. Now my other ones here are much bigger, and that's fine. But whatever size you want to, you can make a long strand of these. I would probably, if I was going to do that, go on a smaller size and maybe flatten them out a little more. But you can do these any shape, and you can leave them round. They make nice round beads also. So that's that. I'm going to show you how I put them on a pin. So the first thing I do is, it's easier when you're looking down, find the center. I stick my pin in. Now, I'm looking from here to there. I hold this at eye level. So I'm looking at that pin, that it's straight, that the bead is flat and perpendicular on this side. And then I twist the pin a little, turn the bead, and check for that same perpendicular flatness to the pin. Just a little twist. And you will see that, you know, when I'm turning this on the pin, it's straight on the pin. And where did I come out the other side? Right in the middle. Now, I don't like to make bigger holes at this point because I will drill them out afterwards. And drilling them out afterwards, if you want to enlarge the hole, is quite easy, especially if you have a drill or a Dremel. But it also allows you, if you need to move a hole slightly to one side or another, you can do that when you have your drill bit in, and you can just pull it to one side, like if I was pulling this pin towards me, and go up and down and try to drill the hole just bigger on one side to recenter it. But this is fine. This is perfectly nicely centered. So we're going to put this on my bead rack. These are silicone dots, and I'll do the other one. In the center. Well, we pick the bead up. Okay, I'm looking at it horizontally. Start it in, let go, and I just keep turning the pin and turning the bead, making sure this is visually horizontal for me and the bead is straight. And I'm almost through it already. Now that may not look centered, but it probably is. But I'm going to go in from the other end and just pull where I think it needs to go back to the middle. And I spin them. If they don't wobble weird, they're fine. This one's fine. See how nice it spins? And that spinning makes them looser on the pin. So those are ready for the oven. Spinning your beads on the wire allows an air gap to let the air escape so your beads don't crack. Okay, this is a little bit about different types of sandpaper.
This is regular automotive wet dry sandpaper. It's what I use the most. It's readily available and it's cheap. Okay, and I go from 220, 400, 600, 800, and 1,000. And if I'm going to buff something on my buffing machine and make it shiny, I'll probably do 1,500 and maybe 2,000. These are Auberlon and Aubernet. Aubernet is a mesh. The grit doesn't come off of it. It's like a plastic mesh, and it really works well. The only problem with it is getting it in sizes you need: 240, 320, 400, 600, 800, and 1,000. This is a set that I got from HarrimanDesigns.com, and that's HARRYMAN Designs.com. You would probably have to messenger. I don't know if she has them still to sell. They're not on her website, but if you message her or email her, she will respond and tell you how much they are. Anyway, these are awesome. They last forever. They wash out easy. These are Auberlon. Same company makes them, but they're like this grit on sponge. And they really don't last that long. I end up using them for pads to hold these. When I'm sanding something curved, it's just easier on your hand. So I wouldn't buy those. They sent me these samples, and they're okay, but they're just not worth the money. They're expensive. I think they cost much more than these. But anyway, so those are going to put aside. I'm going to be sanding with this. Now, of these sandpapers, 220 grit is the coarsest. It's super coarse. Never use 220 grit on the surface. It's only for really bad edges. I wouldn't even use it on this. It takes too much off. 220 or anything under 400 is only for heavy removal, never the surface. And I wanted to mention Micro Mesh, another sanding paper. It has a whole different numbering system than American wet dry sandpaper or Aubernet. It's not any better. The grits you have to figure out match compared to regular sandpaper. The high numbers don't mean anything. If you look at the numbers on the left column, that's micro mesh. If you look at the numbers that have the P in front of them, that's the standard American and European numbers. And you can see where they fall in line with each other. I've edited out quite a bit of the sanding, but just remember, 220 grit sandpaper is only for heavy removal. Okay, here are my beads out of the oven. I will drill the holes bigger later. I don't know what cord I'm going to put on. I had them in the refrigerator, so they're cold. Come on. That one I must not have turned. That's why I always spin them on the needle. This needle's bent too, so. Of course, I don't have any pliers. We'll skip that one for now. So, now, one thing also with my needles. Don't pull them off and bend your needles. If you have to have something like this, instead of trying to force it, get a pair of pliers and hold the needle at this end and pull straight out. Because trying to do it with your hands, you're going to bend your needle. It's not worth ruining them. They're hard to get. So now one thing I do, sometimes these get a little gunky or rusty looking, like this one. I don't know if you can see the difference of those two. This one's darker. I just take my 1000 grit sandpaper, give it a couple passes, get any clay residue off of there. And they turn shiny silver. And if you want, you can put some clay softener or baby oil or hand cream or anything on them to keep them from rusting. Just make sure you don't let them sit in water. They will rust if you let them sit in water or stay wet. Okay, sanding these bad boys. Now, this is a small shape. I wouldn't go that much smaller with beads that I'm going to sand by hand because it hurts your hands. It really does. So I'm going to start with 400. I usually just do it in my hand. And what I do is I keep my fingers, like with this finger, dropped down. So there's, I make a trough, okay? So the first thing I do is I rub a few times. I usually count, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a quarter turn. 5, you know, not, just, I just keep turning it, and I'm rolling it like a wheel. And, you know, of course, I'll do the sides a little bit. But one thing, when you press these down flat, it kind of stretches the surface of the clay and actually smooth. And then I will do it this way. I do it this way, both sides, and then I do it this way. And when I do it this way, I'm actually sweeping it back and forth like a swing set. And then just a little turn. That way I'm catching the sides too, not just the top rounded edge. Like I said, I'm holding this hand is very relaxed. But having that trough come up around the sides, you're getting more area than just going like this on flat paper, okay? Okay. Feel that. I don't feel any ridges or bumps or grit. Then I would move on to the next one. So it's not that hard. And beads, I can glaze beads myself to a perfect high shine with resin. Something I'm working on to make it easy for everybody, but it's been a long time coming. Anyway, these are another thing. You don't have to have super shiny beads, especially something like that. These are organic looking. When you get them to the point where they're sanded nice and smooth, and you rub them on a towel, on a woven terry cloth kitchen towel is what I use. You can use blue jeans. They just get a nice soft sheen that they don't look plasticky anymore, okay? They look like stone or glass. The more shine you have, the more glass-like they will look. But when you get these stacked up, you know, in a necklace, where's the other one? These aren't really in size order. But when you get these, you know, in a necklace with some spacer beads in between them, they'll be nice. I'll put these 5 beads on a string for you with some kind of beads. I gotta find my stash. I used to buy beads all the time and I never used them. I always made polymer ones, so I quit buying beads, but I still have a hoard. Okay, I just wanted to do a little bit of finish work with these. Now, the pendant I baked, you can see in the other video, I did my easy back. It has been sanded. I don't know if you can see the shine on it, and it's only hand buffed, but it's smooth. It has a nice shine to it, but not super glossy, just a shine. I think they look best this way. When you go to high buff these, you can actually bring up imperfections that you can't see now. Anyway, that's that. That's finished. And I will put that on a chain. Probably like this one. I'm going to drill the earrings in a minute. I'm going to do the beads first. Now, the beads all have pilot holes. And I use hand drills. A Dremel is really not necessary for polymer clay. It's overkill. It's overkill for using to sand the edges of your earrings. Sandpaper is much faster, much cheaper.
it's overkill for buffing. So use that little tiny buffer head to go over and over when you can throw this on a big buffing wheel and have it be done in 2 or 3 minutes if you sanded it properly. So this is a 1/16, which is what I usually use for beads. And this one is a 1/32, which is hard to find, but there are small kits of mini drill bits that you can buy. And then this is a needle tool, which I'll need for something else. So first thing I do, I already have my pilot hole because we used the steel bead pins to bake on. So my hole's there already. And this one you can see it's already bigger than the hole, so that's unnecessary. This one is just a nice tight fit. These are the ones that didn't come off the drill, off the pin easy. And I think I get more by the hole. Aside from drilling, and you'll see the little pieces falling out. I get just as much by going back and forth as I do actually drilling when you have a drill bit this small. And if you drill and the stuff's still coming out, that means there's more to come out. Okay, and then this one. This first one's very easy, but you want to start with the smallest bit that you can get in there that actually does something, because otherwise you risk cracking, like earrings will crack a lot easier. But you risk chipping the edges, which doesn't really happen with Primo, but it can if it's not baked properly and fully. All these beads have been sanded, they're smooth. Once I go through, just to make sure they're at least this much, I will do one round with my next one, and you can see how those tendrils of clay are coming out. That's how you know your bead is baked all the way through, when you get those. That long threads of baked clay. And once I go through these, with this one, I usually go from both sides. Then I have this drill bit on this Dremel already. You can use a Dremel if you like. You're better off having your Dremel in a clamp or something and bring the bead to the drill bit, but I'm just going to do one. That's the problem with Dremels. They're unpredictable. Get it in there. It's trying to go. There we go. Makes a lot of dust, which hand drilling doesn't. And that has a nice big hole. This is much bigger than my bead pin. You can see, nice and finished. I would hand buff these on a towel. Now let's do the earrings. You don't want to just start drilling on earrings. You want to mark them first. And using a needle tool is the best thing to mark them. And I want these all to be the same. So I put a pair together. I usually turn them sideways so that one's up and down. And I know I'm using pinch bails. So you see how long that pinch bail is. Well, I don't want that point, the point of the earring, to go all the way up in there, or it won't freely swing. So I have to take that into account. All right, so here's my earring component. I have the pinch bail here, and this is the front of the pinch bail, so that has to be on the front of the earring. I always bend that back pin up to make sure it goes on top of this when I close it. Okay, so we're going to drill these. I have my line there. I'm using pinch bails, earring wires. So there will be no jump ring. You got to come in enough for it to be strong. So a little more than 1/8 of an inch. The hole is drilled. I don't know if you can see it or not, or through it. Use this one for comparison. And what I'm looking at is this one's between those two white lines. So I'm going to try to get there, but I also want to make sure that I'm actually the same distance from the point, which on this earring may be just a hair higher than the two white lines. Start it. If you have a nice fine drill bit, you go right through like butter. My pinch bail. On the pinch bail, you have the front side. Make sure that goes in the front, and the back side. And you two little hooks on there. And you can watch in my earring tutorial. I think I do more on that. But this is so simple. Get a hold of it. My hands are cramping. Put it in the front one and pinch the back one. There we go. And then use nylon coated pliers. Mine one broke, so I have tape on it. Just give it a gentle nudge. You want it to swing. And you want to make sure that it clears. You don't want to do your hole so far down that it doesn't clear the top of that. And I will do this other one. And we will be done. Put the front in. Press the back in. Once it's in there and won't fall off. Nylon pliers. Just to give it a light pinch. Don't squeeze it so hard that you press against the earring, or it'll be stuck wherever you press it. You'll have to pry it apart a little bit. And there we go. I will finish these up and have photos of them. This first pair, I cracked the top, not because they were underbaked. I was just over aggressive with drilling them. So all I did was trim off the top a little bit to get below that and re-drilled my hole. No waste of earrings. Here's the second pair. They came out very nice. And remember, you can get around 6 different designs out of your cane slices. Hope you enjoyed my class. These are the beads. I don't know if I'm going to polish these or not. They feel so good, and when you wear them, they start getting a sheen of their own. I will take some still shots of these to put at the end of the video. Here are some beads I made from other canes I've made in the past. These are longer and a slightly different method to make them, but you can see on the ends in the picture A and B how the pattern comes all together. These are some black and white ones that I made in a recent cane. Here are the Rondell beads, strung and sanded, not polished. Here is the pendant, polished, sanded after baking one more time with the finest grit. Here are the earrings, which I show again, and my easy back. I need to clean the back because when I sanded, you get dust from the sanding. Toothbrush and dish soap will remove it. And finally, the 2 pairs of earrings. I hope you enjoyed this class. Please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you. Thanks again for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. And I will have any tool products links in the description. Happy claying. And don't forget to like and share. And if possible, let the commercials run. It really helps my channel.